So you may have seen the announcement today from Sana about their new Sana Studio card. We've been lucky enough here at Spryker to be playing with this for the last few weeks, and I just wanted to show you some examples of what we've built. It's a very cool vibe coding within a course tool. It enables us to create engagement opportunities for people consuming course content as basic, simple exercises, or more advanced, logical, hands-on exercises that they can go through and cement the knowledge that they've gained and put that into practice in some cases. It's very easy to build studio cards. All you need is some content. That will be your course. So build your course first of all. And then when you build out the studio card, you will prompt the studio card to create something from the content that you've already built. I'll give you some examples in a second. Sana also gives us some pre-existing ideas around what could be built. You can take those as you see fit, or you can create something entirely your own from scratch. So let me jump into the application. So right now I'm in Spryker's instance of Sana. I'm in edit mode, so I'll be able to show you the behind the scenes, if you like, of these Sana Studio cards. I've got something here that I built myself from content that's in this course, but I've also got some examples from other courses. We can copy and paste these between courses. So these are examples of what one of my colleagues, Alexandra, built for a workflow automation and agents course that we built for our internal audience. The key here is that you need to describe what it is that you want to build. So if you're building a course, you've got some idea of the outcomes that you're trying to drive, the objectives of the course. When you're building your Sana Studio cards, then make sure that you're taking those objectives into consideration, because you're trying to guide people to achieve those objectives through the course. So here in my pre-built section on the left-hand side, if I go in there, I've got 3 examples of things that Alexandra built. So the first one is a checklist, basically applying the automation feasibility checklist to a real workflow. Again, context for this is an entire course enabling people to build workflows and automations using the tools that we have within our company. Now, because these have been copied from another course, you won't see the entire conversation that was used to create these cards. You'll only see the latest version. On the right-hand side, you can see this is the version that I'm currently on. I don't have any other versions in here. And the prompt that was used to get from the previous version to this version. I can't show you the entire flow, but you can see an idea of how this works. So the last prompt was basically making a tweak. This is important to understand within the studio card is start small, start granular, and then gradually iterate until you get to the thing that you really think is workable for your audience. So in this instance, this probably took 3 or 4 iterations to apply the right colors, make sure the text is visible. Sometimes the look and feel isn't exactly what you want, but you can adjust that through the prompting. So in this case, you can see right at the top, there's an example. This is an invoice processing example and a scenario where an invoice arrives and it needs to go through a process. The actual interaction at the bottom is based on this criteria. Here, we're going to go through the process to evaluate the invoice processing workflow against the automation feasibility checklist. I'm going to start my analysis here, and this is going to take me through that process to enable my learning journey. In this task, invoices arrive often, and the process is repeated for each invoice as it goes through. It's a high repetition task. This has been built by the studio card. The next step, does it follow a consistent, predictable pattern? Again, gives us some feedback on that. So in this case, this is an example of giving you more information, giving you more logic based on the content already in the course, but we're using it in a slightly more engaging way rather than just pure text or flip cards. We can go through the different steps in here and I get the last one. And then at the bottom, this one is giving me an analysis summary as well. So I've got some takeaways from this perspective for this particular example. The second one here is spotting the workflow components. So in this exercise, what we're asking them to do is look at a set of elements within a workflow and identify whether it's a task, actor, input, or output. So for this one, all I need to do is click on a particular item in here. So it asks me what type of component this is. So this is an employee, therefore this is an actor. Yes, got that right. If I pick a manager and I say this is a task, no, not quite right. So giving me feedback as I go through the process. Now, if I go through this entire thing, what I'll actually get at the end is a summary as well. So once I've gone through that process to assign each one, I can see the summary of what I have specified here. And I've successfully identified all the workflow components. The third one is quite an interesting one because there's a little bit of animation in this one as well. This is enabling somebody to understand how a rule-based automation makes decisions. So what we're doing here is basically showing the automation decision based on the rules as we tweak them. So the scenario is at the top. There's an invoice coming in with particular monetary amount, and we're going to go through and toggle these. So right now, if I haven't got any toggled on, there's no automation rules. That means there's a default workflow. If invoice amount is greater than 1,000, now we need an extra step, manager approval required. If the priority is high, then we go through another step, which is to send to a particular manager immediately. If the finance department is ticked, then we also need to go through a different process, and the weekend stuff as well. So we can play around with these a little bit, and it gives us the automation decision. I've got an option to reset, so we can tweak them in a different way and keep playing around. Now, further down in here, these are studio cards that I've built based on a whole set of content that I've got in this course. It's not a real course. It's just a bunch of text, effectively, that's come from a custom education series that I've built out. I'm not going to go through all of these, but basically it's a 10-article Substack series that takes someone through creating custom education practice. So the context when I created these studio cards is exactly that. It's just that content. There's nothing else in there. So some examples. In this case, this was a single shot prompt. This is also supplied by the Sana logic. The studio card will make suggestions as you build these out. This is one that I just selected, clicked on it, and it created it. Now I can tweak this from this point onwards. I can add additional logic in here. I can make changes. I can add different colors, etc., etc. But this is the prompt that was originally given to the card. So click tiles to reveal real-world examples of education programs, etc. Now, if I click on these, you can see the output of each of them. So there's a little animation with some numbers that have been derived from the content, plus some content that's been pulled via generative AI as well. So you can see there's a whole bunch of examples in there. The next one is a little bit more complex, and this actually needed 4 attempts to get to the current state. So the first one, if I click on this, it basically had a bunch of charts down here, which were okay, but didn't really tell me anything. I tried to fix it with a couple of steps, and it changed a little bit more. And ultimately I got to the last version, which is choosing a technology, configuring the pilot. So how much am I spending? How long do I want the pilot to run? What is the size of my team? What is the goal of this? What is my hypothesis? And this can all be overwritten. And then I can run a simulation on this. So what's going to happen now, based on me prompting this through the process, is I get a strategic assessment of the risk, I get a success strategies output, and I get a failure scenarios output as well. Now, I also have some examples that Sana have supplied us right at the start. We asked for some examples, and this document was given to us. It's expanded since then. But there's some examples in here of different interactive cards, including games. So I've got a crossword puzzle here, for example. This would allow me to go through and solve the crossword puzzle. Then we've got some more interesting articles down here. Somebody has created a resource library. So this is enabling me to look at the resources and access specific resources that would be maybe in my learning management system or linked via Google Drive, for example. You can have a bunch of tools and then click the access button, access resource. That would take me to the resource. This isn't linked up to any resources at this point. But I think is a good way of thinking about, okay, how can we give more resources? Don't just put links in, make it interesting. This one is a org chart. So rather than having a static image, we've got an interactive org chart that I can drill down into, for example. There's all sorts of different options in there, and Sana themselves are doing some demos on this. Let me go in and show you what the process for creating a new studio card is. I can add card, find the studio card, which is down here, click on that. What this will do is it'll look at the content and gather up some ideas for what I could build using this studio card. So it's looking at the source information and then give me some options. So learning journey, drag and drop. Let's build that one. This one is drag and arrange the 4 stages of the learner journey into the correct order with instant feedback. So pretty basic, but might take a little time to build it in an authoring tool. I'm going to let that run, and then I'll come back to you in a second. So it's 2 minutes later, and now I have the output. I didn't type anything in. I literally clicked one button, and now I've got an ordering exercise. So what's the correct order for a learning journey? Onboarding, advanced use, mastery, initial adoption. Let's work through this very quickly. What's the correct order? Let me put something that's correct. Onboarding, initial adoption, advanced use, and mastery, I think would probably be the right options. And great, I've done it correctly. If I try it again and put it in incorrectly, then it tells me not quite right. Now what I could do is then enhance this even further. So maybe I want more explanation of why this isn't quite right. I could go through and prompt this to say, actually give me more feedback. Don't just tell me it's not right, do it again. Give me some feedback as to what I need to think about. So that's the Sana Studio, just a brief overview for you to understand what it does and how we're using it in our team. I think the opportunities here for vibe coding, engaging exercises and practice and all those kind of things in the Sana application is a huge step forward. We will continue to figure out how this can help our users and build meaningful engagement rather than multiple choice quizzes that don't prove any value. Let's actually get people doing things instead. So hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you in the next one.